has it been like to begin to synthesize some of this ancient material, like the Gnostic text, for instance, and see so
Mm.
many parallels to our
I,
world today? Because that's what's been astounding me. It's like, wow.
Indeed, and I think this is where, and this is a journey for me as well. I am not saying I have all the answers. I'm exploring. I'm still exploring every day. And when I read something, it's like you can read something and then life carries on, and then something else will happen and life carries on, and then something else will happen, and then all of a sudden the parts connect, and you have an aha moment where you go, hang on a minute, that connects to that, that connects to that. Why didn't I connect these before? And I seem to be having, I call them my like my downloads, but they're just aha moments, and they come at the most irregular points in time. You know, if I'm in the shower and I've got no pen and paper, so I can't write my thoughts down quick enough, and I'm in the shower, I'm like, really now? Okay, and I have to run out and write things down, scribble things down, or like the other week, I was with my dog, and I was stroking my dog, and I was just looking at her, and I was looking at her fur. I was like, how can something be so perfect? How can, how can the lay of her fur be so perfect? And it's just those moments of, they are just aha moments where you just connect. And so for me, that they come in various places and times. Like I think I've had, look, we all have aha moments, don't we, through our life, I think, where we go, oh, I didn't really think of it that way. And yes, that connects and that makes sense. So I think the more I'm exploring the texts, and where I want to go in with a view of, hang on, let's, rather than just looking at the cosmology is beautiful, but let me look at it with a different lens. Let me look at it with cosmology. Let me look at it with a political lens. What was happening to those people at that time for them to write the way that they were writing? Let me look at it from a societal perspective. What does the psychology about that tell us? And as I said, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, or these are my observations. And they're observations based on working with people for years in different organizations. And so for me, I look at them and think that's why that connects, and that's what that could look like. And I'm always really conscious to say, look, this is my thoughts. You can take it or leave it. I just want to present another idea that maybe makes you think about something in a slightly different way. And then you can go off and have your aha moments, because that's what it's about. It's us as individuals finding that path, but we're slowly finding a community of people who are, open to look at things differently, rather than always the way that we've been told to look at things, that we've been taught to look at things. And I think critical thinking is a huge skill. I remember having to deliver sessions on critical thinking in organisations, and I never liked it. I never liked delivering critical thinking sessions. And I don't know why. I might have to delve into that. But critical thinking is such a skill to say, well, why do I think that way? Who's told me to think that way? Why have I been taught that way? What does that mean? What benefit is there for me to think that way, and to whom? And I think those are the questions, more now than ever. I think perhaps, in the 60s and 70s as well, actually, that it's really important to interrogate ourselves and our belief systems. And I remember always running a session around beliefs and values, saying, well, where did you get those values from? Because some of them you inherit, some of them you are environmental, they're from your parents, some of them are from your friends, and some of them are from TV. But how much of those have you taken on as though they are fully your own? And how many of them no longer serve you, the person that you are now? And I think that's really, and I don't think it's something that we do often enough, to say, why do I think that way? Why is that value important to me? Is that really my value?
I tend to think that the synthesis hasn't happened in the past because we weren't really looking at other belief systems other than our own. That's kind of
Yeah,
the norm. We just
look
reject.
outside.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah, and I think that's what I'm finding. I think when I look at the Gnostic texts, or when I look at other texts, or anything that's out there, there is a synergy. There is a synergy in what some of the texts are saying. And I think that's fascinating. Now, I am going on a bit of a journey at the moment with the Gnostics, insofar, and the Bible actually to a degree, where I'm thinking, rather than this being prophetic, this is an environmental societal observation that these people were having in relationship to what was happening to them at that time. And I think we can draw so much from that to now, particularly with what we're seeing politically, the geopolitical, world that we're living in at the moment, with so many different things. And not wanting to comment on anything politically necessarily, but we're seeing what's playing out in the world, and the veil does seem to be thinning.
Mm.
And what I find fascinating, and sorry, this is just as an aside, the word apocalypse. So when we look at apocalyptic texts, when you think of the word apocalypse, what do you think of?
Oh, end of world, like total
Yeah,
destruction. Yeah.
yeah, total destruction. It actually means to uncover, to unveil. When you read those apocryphal texts, you think, actually, we've been told that this is prophecy, but actually it's more of an unveiling. It's more of this is what was happening. And they had to write texts in a particular way, because if they had written plainly what they thought, they could have been killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did code the messages in a way. They did use numbers to code the messages. You've got ancient Greek and Hebrew where the alphabet is the same as the numbers. So you'll see things, translated into numbers as a code, but it actually would spell out a name. And they had to hide this what they were feeling, what they were thinking, that what was happening in their society through these texts. And I find that fascinating, because you can absolutely draw a parallel with what's happening now.
I also see that as like dream interpretation. If you interpret a dream, it can be interpreted in so many different ways. But how different
Absolutely.
are our lives than dreams? We can interpret our lives in multiple ways as well. So it just
Absolutely.
makes total sense to me that they wrote in a way that was, it was just one interpretation.
Yes.
With
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Because I think I've been focusing on Revelation at the moment with the 666 or 616, because in some of the older texts it's 616. And
Ah,
actually, yes, yeah, that which is fascinating. And it depends on whether the name of the person that they're actually referring to, which is Nero, whether it's spelt in the Latin way, or Neron, or the Greek way. So depending on the number. So you'll actually find I think there was some older texts that were discovered fairly recently, which was saying 616 instead of 666, for example. But
hmm.
both ways would spell Nero, depending on which alphabet you use.
Oh
So
gosh, this want me once, and now I want to get into the to the symbology of Nero, but that's a whole
I
nother.
know.
Okay.
I know, and I'm working on that as a piece at the moment, because
Are
I'm
you?
just like,
Okay.
this is fascinating, this is amazing, this is so interesting, and this is where I'm sort of coming to this conclusion of some of these texts are the cosmology is beautiful and symbolic, and some of it is political conversation that's been hidden deliberately,
Mm-hmm.
so that the people who understood how the alphabet and the numbers worked would understand it, whereas the Romans wouldn't have had a clue. And I just think that's fascinating.